right, hello everyone. Hope everybody is doing well. Well, things are getting crazy. I've talked about this in my last video. If you can, please subscribe to this channel. Get this username and follow me on other platforms because we're at a point where things are getting really crazy. This channel could be shut down very, very soon if trends continue, perhaps. And again, they've taken down one of my videos about several months ago. So if you're new, please subscribe. Let's talk about what's happening. Now, yesterday, people are really getting fed up. They're rising up and they're taking a stand and they're doing things that it's pretty out of the ordinary. Now, personally, I don't recommend people protesting like this in front of private property, but let's just take a look at what happened. Wow, it's getting really crazy out there. And remember, what's happening is that people are getting fed up. They need to bring their voices across. Now, obviously, a private establishment should not necessarily, you can argue, bring viewpoints that may discourage other customers' well-being. However, you have to understand that a lot of these casinos are the ones that lobbied for the politicians that pushed the vaccine and mask mandates, not to mention the lockdowns. You have this YouTube user or Twitter person, Vital Vegas, that says, don't bring your dumbassery into our casino. You can see that a lot of these non-governmental organizations, you can see a lot of these accounts are essentially shills, perhaps, of the establishment. That's what they are. And it does seem that, well, they should have some responsibility because they're the ones who are pushing all this agenda. And you can see here that the situation on the Strip is not really getting a whole lot better. You can see that there's still... Hey, don't jump in. I mean, just thuggery behavior, all this trash. Where have we really come to? It makes you want to think, even with all the nickel and diming, why spend your dollars on the Strip? What are you getting out of it? Well, obviously, in these very tough times, I really believe that, and again, I don't trust a lot of these people just because they say things that are true and relevant doesn't mean that they're the real deal. But again, in these critical times of what we're facing right now, why should people go to these places? And given the fact of this high censorship, I'm really considering flying banners in the air or doing other means to really make a difference. I want to show you right here. I'm actually thinking about driving around the area with messages talking about, okay, white people are being replaced. We have a border crisis. Not just advertising in ways that, you know, promote a certain product or idea. Think about it. You can see here that we're in a very critical time right now. We're seeing that the stock market is beginning to plunge. Now, do I believe that the stock market plunge is going to lead to a sign of another late 2000s meltdown? I don't think so. I think we still have a lot of room to go for that. We have to see the real estate market blow up. I do believe that there's likely going to be a buying opportunity later this month, depending on the debt ceiling situation. But look at this right here, a tech-driven sell-off. And as you can see, now I used to think there was something wrong with my phone, but apparently I could not log into Facebook or Instagram. What the heck is happening? I believe what's going on is that there is a manipulated and planned communications outage. So what's happening is, of course, that they're not doing too good of a job to censor us. The truth is spreading like wildfire. So one of the things that they're trying to do is they're trying to shut the whole communication system down. Now, do I think this is going to succeed? Do I think everybody's going to be like bots again and subscribe to the establishment media? No, because it seems like what they're doing is pretty much obvious what's going on. Look at crypto. Crypto isn't doing as bad as the stock market. I recently put some funds into it. Look at oil prices. This is not looking really, really good. A lot of working families are going to be hit hard. This is very painful considering that prices are higher than prior to the pandemic. And a lot of people are not having their jobs coming back. Their assistance is not what they used to be. You can see bonds are starting to creep up. A lot of these different things. Let's take a look, as you can see right here. Now, the Clark County Commission, and you had Sickerbloom and a few other elected officials, I think, there, they were talking about redistricting. Now, the main issue about redistricting is not just whether or not that it's going to be fair in population, but if certain identity groups, Latino, Blacks, Indigenous people, Asians, are going to be well represented. Because they're talking about, we need 2 districts that represents the majority of the Hispanic community. We need a Black district. We need an Asian district. Well, many of you guys should say to them, well, hey, what about white people? What about Persian people? You see, it's so insane that they're picking and choosing certain identity ethnic groups. And remember, you have a lot of these non-governmental organizations, including the ones that are defaming me, that are using law enforcement to push me around. They're paid there to essentially go there and speak up. The problem is, why isn't there a massive number of people who are out there who are countering these individuals and speaking out? What about white people? They're shrinking. Pretty soon, if these trends continue, they're probably going to be 25% of the population. This is some very, very interesting things. Now, of course, the thing is what they're not telling you is, well, why is there so many of these minorities? Have they ever told you that? Obviously, we know why. High cost of California, construction, and casinos have essentially labor preferences. And if the system is so rigged against you, why are you even trying to illegally come here? Worst of all, keep this in mind, that this is done by population, not by citizenship. And as you know, Clark County has the highest rate of illegal aliens. Now, here's the thing, though. With all these illegals, the problem is that we have elected officials like City Councilwoman Olivia Diaz and Cortez Masto, that they're serving illegal aliens. Think about this. So what it is essentially is they're replacing their support over the people that they're supposed to represent. That's the sad part. And they don't care with all the other consequences. Test scores that are falling, neighborhoods looking like third world, they don't care. And this is one of the reasons why they have the border crisis that's out of control. And it's only a matter of time where people like us are going to really stand up against all this crap. Who cares if they gun us down? Our lives are at stake around here. You can see here Jackie Rosen meeting with the Nevada Immigrant Coalition, particularly Pathway to Citizenship, illegal aliens, non-citizens. You can see here how all these organizations, Mi Familia Vota, here again, Olivia Diaz, DACA representation, Office of New Americans, all these different red flags. Steve Sisolak meeting with DACA. What you're seeing right here is that these people, they're losing support of the masses. They know that the people, U.S. citizens, are not on board with them, so they need to import voters to replace them. Well, if they're representing non-citizens, this is another cry for us to say, you know what? We don't want to pay taxes because this is taxation without representation. Absolutely. Now, if you want to meet Steve Sisolak and confront him, you can basically go to the LGBT, again, another identity group that they're pandering to. He's going to be marching on October the 8th, and the parade follows at 7 p.m. If you want to go see him, counter him, boo him, you're more than welcome to do that. But again, they need these identity groups to keep them in power, not to mention the vote rigging and everything else. But again, stay confident because more and more people are waking up. Now, if you speak out against all this, well, they censor you. In case if you haven't noticed, the ADL isn't just going after people like Jared Taylor, Richard Spencer, or Sam Dixon, the guy who I just interviewed. They're going people all over the world. Anybody who speaks out against the narrative, they are censored. The ADL is calling for the censorship of Khamenei. Now, as you know, he's a supreme leader of Iran. He's a supreme leader of many of my relatives who happen to live in Tehran. Basically, what he's talking about is statements criticizing Israel. He's criticizing Jewish people, particularly the Jewish elite. Now, the thing is that you have to understand that people who criticize the Jewish elite, they're not just people who are predominantly Europeans who are living in the United States or Europe, as a matter of fact. They can be people from all over the world, any race. But the question is why is he criticizing Israel? Why is he criticizing the Jewish elite? Maybe there's something that he knows that we're supposed to know, and it's not just coming from people who are from the alt-right or whatever you want to call it, or these pro-white organizations. Maybe the fact that they're censoring people like him, there's a lot of confidential and hidden information that we're supposed to know that he's not, that they don't want us to know, as a matter of fact. And if you want to make a difference, if you want to actually fight back, on October the 10th, and I may counter this event in the stadium, which is in the Summerlin area, I can't remember what it's called, the ballpark stadium, they're going to be having a march against hate. I want you to go out there and say, you know what? You guys hate white people. And we want to know why it's a taboo to criticize the Jewish elite. Now, I want to make this very clear, though. There's a lot of powerful people who are Jesuits that I've found, and I've shown you a lot of their images that are behind all this. But when people are wondering why is this society and why are all over the world there's in chaos, and where are all these roads connecting to, and the fact that they make it a taboo, well, that makes people more and more aware to the point that, well, we know who the real enemy is. Now, do you think that the real enemy are the same people that, well, Khamenei and people like Nick Fuentes and Red Ice and all these other people point to? You tell me. Because if you have a very large number of Iranian Americans that are very critical of so-called Zionists, well then, maybe I should fight for my people and you whites should fight for your own people, and we should ally together and understand, well, who's really behind all this? And based on what he's saying, we can certainly assume that it's Israel that is teaming up with the Saudis, the pro-Sunnis, whatever you want to call them, and they're fighting against Iran. And we know that Iran and Syria does not have the central bank that they want. And certainly, we can assume that this is perhaps a catalyst to start World War III. You look at Russia, Ukraine, Taiwan, China. Where are we really headed to? You tell me. But as far as I know, we're leading to a societal breakdown. And all this redistricting that they're talking about, folks, I really don't think it's going to matter in the long run, because if this society breaks down, man, this is just going to be a fond memory. Anyway, you let me know what you think. Thank you so much. Please subscribe.